Good afternoon, Lumpur Kap.
Good afternoon, Ajahn Sumedho.
Thank you for taking time to do another Q&A. So today is Thursday, the 3rd of November, 2022. I was thinking we could maybe pursue the theme of the last Q&A about vibhava, the desire to get rid of, that you talked about some last time. And this time I was wondering if you could address that aspect of vibhava. What is it about it that is we get so deluded by it or don't tend to recognize it so easily? Like the way the Buddha, sometimes I think if the Buddha hadn't specified it in the second noble truth as a type of desire, it might have never occurred to me that it was a type of desire. And so we habitually, out of ignorance, we tend to not recognize it. Could you address that, please?
Yeah, we in the West, we don't usually regard that as desire, because we think of desire as desire, usually Dhamma or desire for sense pleasures, like desire for food or sex, and the sensual desires are quite, of course, that's called Dhamma, desire for sense objects that please us. And then vibhava, desire to get rid of what we don't like. And it can be both on the sensual level, desire to get rid of ugliness, ugly things to see, or then you can observe that it's like aversion, wanting to get rid of what you don't like. And it's not part of our cultural heritage to see that as the cause of suffering. So in investigating the Four Noble Truths, the Second Noble Truth brings these three types of desire called Dhamma into conscious awareness. And as a monk, as a bhikkhu, training under the Vinaya, the discipline, one wants to get rid of anger and greed and fear and jealousy, and you're aware there's so much we don't want, we don't like, that we experience through this form. And so the aim is to begin to notice, how so much of one's life has been spent on being caught up in vibhava, desire to get rid of, avoid, exterminate what we don't like. And it's very righteous, because oftentimes it's very right to get rid of evil thoughts. It seems like what we should be doing, to get rid of greed. And if you're celibate, to get rid of sexual desire, and wanting to get rid of, and they teach about the kilesas, the defilements, we want to get rid of them. So oftentimes in the beginning phases of monastic life, we spend a lot of time trying to get rid of the defilements. And then you hold up ideals such as contentment. The life of a samana is one with contentment, and then you want to get rid of discontentment, and you want to get rid of the kind of resistance you feel to being admonished, and you start envying other monks or feeling aversion for them, you want to get rid of it because you should have loving kindness for all sentient beings. So when one is holding to ideals, high-minded ideals, then out of ignorance, this grasping of ideals leads to a lot of desire to get rid of what we consider wrong or evil or sinful as we experience. We can see it externally, wanting to destroy the axis of evil, wanting to get rid, there's a lot of Dhamma in the present political system here in the United States, desire to get rid of the opposite side. And that can be very righteous, the sense of we're right and they're wrong and we want to get rid of them. But in meditation, you begin to observe that. It's not that it's wrong to have Dhamma or desire to get rid of things, but the clinging to that desire, the blind personal judgments we make through our righteous positions, leads to suffering. So in, wanting to keep the purity of the tradition, wanting to get rid of the heretics, the ones who seem to be destroying the pure tradition that we cherish. We want to, annihilate them, get rid of them, or excommunicate them, or, make them disappear, is a desire to get rid of bad influences and in external or internal. And what can witness Dhamma or desire to get rid of is pure. So the witnessing position of Bhutto, of the witness, the recommendation, take the witness position of desire, means that you observe the sense of wanting to get rid of what you don't like is like this. You're not trying to annihilate it, because that's another form of attachment who tends to want to suppress it or destroy it in some kind of mental act or physical act, which can lead to all kinds of unpleasant results. So, just like burning heretics, it just comes from a very righteous place. Heretics are destroying the religion, and we just to burn them on the stake or hang them seems, is a very righteous position. Now it's not appropriate to do that, but the emotion still happens. And just like wanting the war to end in Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine, wanting that to be finished, get rid of it, is like this. So it's nothing, it's a good view, actually. Wanting the war to end and you want peace to develop is all very good, but we put it in the category of desire, and it's not the desire. We are not trying to annihilate desire, because that would be the same thing, a form of Dhamma, to destroy desire, but to understand it. So we don't get caught up in righteous stands to purify and control everything through what we consider right and by destroying what's wrong, but we observe that if we have such strong views, we're aware of them. They arise and cease. Then in our active life as a citizen of a country, a member of some religion. We're opening our conscious experience in this form to wisdom, to let wisdom guide us rather than just righteous views or the dualistic, divisive tendencies to take sides and champion your own side at the expense of its opposite.
You talk about how vibhava tanha is kind of a reaction to views and what we see as right or wrong. Is it also that which is operating when we're kind of more in terms of an inner world of feelings and emotions and states of mind? Those that are pleasant and unpleasant, and those that are unpleasant we dislike and we try to get rid of them, like feeling vulnerable or fragile or grief or anger or any of these emotions that are basically unpleasant and we try to get rid of them. That's also vibhava tanha operating there, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Like one of the common reactions when someone you love dies is, grief. And be the witness to grief rather than the one attached to it, which could be either through indulging in it and just wallowing in grief, or trying to get rid of it. Like stiff upper lip, don't make a scene, and everybody's going to die anyway. As a way of, unskillful advice. But, grief is a natural emotion that we have as human beings. Animals have it. And it's part of the human package. But are you really just a physical body and a human form, and then you're just bound by the limitations of a mammalian body, a male body or a female body? Ask yourself that question. Then if why liberation is saying you're not any of those conditions. And then you ask yourself, what am I if I'm not my body and my personality, my emotions, all this? And by taking this position of the witness, it's as simple as that, to see that conscious awareness, out of ignorance, we never identify with that. We identify with, I'm grief-stricken and I shouldn't cry, don't want to make a public scene, and all that kind of thing is very much, personal, cultural conditioning. So in the eight worldly Dhammas, Rinpoche, emphasized to really reflect on these eight worldly Dhammas over and over again, and praise and blame and gain and loss are, he kept telling me that gain and loss and praise and blame are of equal value. Where on the personal level, I never thought of it like that. I thought gain and praise is good, and that's what I expect from life. And loss and blame is bad, and I don't want any of that. That's taking sides. Because praise and gain and praise are desirable. To gain respect, to gain wealth, to gain a title, to be a champion, to gain, these are all desirable goals. That's just natural. And it's very cultural. To be a winner is, very strong American ideal. And to get wealthy, to get a lot of money, become the richest person in the whole world is praised. You see how much Americans respect wealth. And because wealth is attractive. And we like that. But loss is not attractive. Losing is not what we want in life. Or being blamed. We don't want to be criticized and blamed. We want to win prizes, trophies, be appreciated and respected by the community and the family and on and on. These are naturally desirable and undesirable conditions. But in terms of Dhamma, they're of equal value. How is that? Because you learn. In fact, I look at, just in my own life as a Buddhist monk, I've actually, learned the most from loss and blame. And, because they were unwanted emotions. And as a person, I don't like to lose or be blamed for things. But that's my personality. I like to win. I like to be respected. I like to be secure and stable in the material world. Personalities like that. But this personality is an object that you witness to rather than cling to and operate from. It's not one's MO or modus operandi anymore, but it's certainly recognizable in terms of awareness. And awareness isn't critical of it. It's not, when you start criticizing yourself for wanting to be a winner, then you're making it more and more complicated. Because if your experience of life is losing, then you feel you failed, and you have to take antidepressants and survive in some way as a loser. But if you take your refuge in the witness, then losing is impermanent and not self. The sense of I am a loser, whether, in maybe worldly terms you are, in terms of the society, but in terms of ultimate reality, no one's a loser. No one's a winner. Then what are we? And then you begin to trust in awareness or in conscious awareness, because that's not about winning or losing. It's just noticing the way it is, that winning is like this, losing is like this. The sense of I'm a winner or I'm a loser is like this. You're aware of the thoughts you have, of the habits, good or bad, that you have as a male or female, and you're not anything at all that has quality or conditions. Where winning can also be a form of suffering, because inevitably you're going to lose. And if you're so attached to being a winner and being respected and being wealthy, then, in the end, you're going to die anyway and lose everything. And so, we, as monks, we reflect on that. All that is mine, beloved and pleasing, will become otherwise, will become separated from me. And so, this is a monastic reflection. And when I first heard this reflection, that's rather depressing. All that is mine, beloved and pleasing. Because as a person, as the idea that all that is mine, beloved and pleasing, I'd like to, I can see the clinging to wanting to hold on to life, to reputation, to wealth, to success. And then there's also, goes along with it, is a fear of losing it. So, that just taking sides with the conditioned realm, good or bad, right or wrong, and it's clinging to our position, and clinging then in the terms of attachment to success, or trying to get rid of failure, Dhamma. And just by being the witness to these forms of desire, you begin to see desire as just what we experience through the body, through the senses. There's the beautiful and the ugly, and right and wrong emotions. There are happiness and sorrow, and on like that. Is a whole divisive, dualistic structure of forms, heaven and hell, male and female, and it goes on, into taking sides or forming ideals about how life should be, according to thinking in the most kind of superlative ways. We can all imagine a perfect utopian society. But society is the way it is, like America right now is like this. In its external form, and the climate change, and the floods and droughts and heat waves and so forth, it's not to dismiss it, not do anything about it, but to see that it's like this is letting go of our view about it as right and wrong. Then wisdom can operate through these forms, through these human forms, universal wisdom. And that's liberation.
Sometimes you speak about how you started reflecting on desire and came across this form of desire, which is desire to get rid of. During that year, you were a novice in Nongkai, and you had that book, Word of the Buddha, as a guide to guide you. How did you work with it? How did you start?
Well, it was a real discovery, because I really reflected on desire. And it's, I was 32, I think, at the time, and educated, university degrees and everything, and studied various religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, and brought up as a Christian. So I had, I wasn't just an illiterate peasant that I had every, had read a lot of books. I was a very avid reader and interested in philosophy and psychology. But I never it came across the three kinds of desire. And then I noticed that my cultural conditioning was relating to the English word desire, was that it more like greed for food or sexual desire. So it was based mostly on getting something that's delicious or exciting or romantic or adventurous, desire to, or ambitious to become president of the United States, and desire, which I never had actually, but that's, how I could relate to the English word desire. And then in Yanatiloka's book, he translates Dhamma as in these three kinds, where the sensual desire is quite apparent, because that's how I use the word desire. If you tell people that somebody else is full of desire, you're talking about they're very ambitious or just full of sexual desires or greed for food, greediness and so forth. But Bhavadana, desire to become something, even though it's very righteous, the desire to get enlightened. Because you always see yourself with the limitations that you define yourself as. If you see yourself as unenlightened, with a lot of desires and with a lot of anger or fear, jealousy, then, these are negative terms. You see yourself you see yourself as kind of something wrong. You've got to make right. You've got to purify yourself. You've got to get rid of these fears and this greed and these desires, irrational desires. And so that's how, so many human beings see themselves as sinners, as something basically impure and wrong, and there's something missing. They've got to get something called enlightenment or salvation, and something that you don't have that sounds, a remedy for getting rid of what you don't like. And so I began to see how much my ordaining as a Buddhist monk was desire to be personally enlightened, to become a person that's enlightened. And then in Vipavadana, desire to get rid of it. Like what goes along with the desire to be enlightened is to get rid of these flaws, these sins, these bad things that you see in yourself, these weaknesses, these faults, these flaws that you don't like about yourself. And so, and I'd always seen that this is righteous. You should get rid of anger and lust, and you should not be greedy, and, it's always eat moderately and don't, and, this is good advice, is Stoic advice of how to conduct one's life as a human being. But in terms of Dhamma, it's still taking your personal sense of separate self as what you really are. And suddenly seeing Bhavadana, Vipavadana, there's different ways of observing. The most righteous kind, you become enlightened, you get rid of fear and greed and things like that. It seems noble and and righteous. And so, one gets praised for, in some circles, for becoming a monastic or somebody who's saved in a church or something, because it seems like you're really putting forth an effort to get rid of evil, fighting the forces of evil. And so in modern life, these images of fighting, of warriorship, fighting against the devil, the satanic forces, is a very common belief in many people. And it's promoted in the society as how we should be. Because the idea of annihilating Satan, get rid of Satan and evil forces seems very noble. Better than trying to make a lot of money and become the richest man in the universe, according to one's value system. And so, it's rated according to which is more noble: greed to become the richest man in the universe, or to get rid of evil forces in the universe. And so, then, being a heroic figure to fight the forces of evil is like Marvel Comics, and it's very exciting and entertaining. So we identify with these images. Some of them are very noble and, for the welfare of all human beings and save the planet. Those are rather noble ambitions. And it's not that we get rid of them, but we see that's what they are. Their desire to make things perfect, when the conditioned realm's very nature is imperfection, is change. And as practitioners of Vipassana meditation, you're noticing, you're paying attention to the impermanency of that an ideal, is a creation. It's not a natural state. It's what you can think using the most superlative thoughts in any language you speak. Like heaven is the ultimate, and God is the ultimate. And is there something better than heaven? And try to figure out whether you can think of something better than heaven. And what's the worst thing is hell, eternal damnation and burning in fire. Is the worst thing you can create in your mind. And but these are fantasies. These are illusions we create with words. It's not the way things really are when you open yourself to taking the witness position and observing that all these noble ideas are noble, but they're ideas that arise and cease in conscious awareness. And so, if we're too idealistic in life, then we become cynical in our old age, because, with all our grand efforts to make things right and get rid of what's wrong, no matter how dedicated you might be in your life and how much success you have achieved, it's still, things are like this. They're not ideal. The United States is not an ideal country like we like to imagine. Right now, the United States is like this. And I'm not making any value judgment about it, but just noticing that the political confusion, the problem of violence and gun control laws and on like that. It's like this. Republicans are like this, Democrats are like this, so there's no judgment in that statement. It's just, witnessing the biases you have around political divisions. And it shouldn't be. Both parties should work together for the welfare of the society is the ideal position. But they don't do that. So it's like this. And if I don't witness it in this way, then I get very upset when I feel that they're just competing powers. Then the nobility of the ideal political system is lost. It's just, like one side against another, and that's what war is. That's what division is. So Dhamma is the desire to make it right, get rid of these wrong desires, and make everybody, truly compassionate and full of kindness and respect for each other is an ideal worth entertaining. But to cling to it, it's not what we experience in life. So sometimes life is like that. And you experience moments where everything is just perfect, the way we want it to be, but it changes, and that's the nature of this realm, the sensory realm, what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, what we think, emotional, how we feel is very changeable dependent on other conditions. It's not like to try to form an ideal state of mind that you can sustain, because you can't do that. But when you realize your true nature as awareness, conscious awareness, it's unitive. It's not a division. There's no division in it. It's perfect. Then we live our lives the best we can, doing good, refraining from doing bad things. Is just, how we operate as enlightened individuals. We do. We aren't just, zombies. Well, it's like this and it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's not kind of resigning ourselves to fate in a negative way, but being able to operate in the world as a virtuous member of society without identifying with it.
So in other words, you taking refuge in awareness and having that as a refuge doesn't mean that kama tanha, like sense desire to become something, desire to get rid of anything, those desires don't just cease, but you know them and you know not to.
Right. The body is a sexual form, so it's a natural energy that's part of the package of being born as a human male or female. So it's not like there's anything wrong with it, but sexuality is just can become an obsession where we can't think of anything else, and then that's a form of suffering, because sexuality is impermanent, and it's also, we can do a lot of harm through it, through just following sexual impulses blindly without any kind of moral position. then we create a lot of misery for ourselves and for the people we influence. And, the more wise individual human beings, the more, the tendency towards crime and violence and war would diminish. So it's, and that's what one can do with one's life. I can't make the world peaceful as a person. I can go on Twitter and criticize and blame the negative forces that I perceive and champion the righteous ones I believe in. But can you really resolve or solve conflicts through that? Just taking sides. Or is awakening to reality, to ultimate truth, realizing your true nature is a great gift that we, as human beings, we all have, we all share. So it's important to encourage people to look at themselves in a different way than just a conditioned way of personal identities with appearance, with gender, with race, with age, and on like that, which are endlessly forms of, conflict and views and opinions and ideals and prejudices and biases that come from thinking too much.
Thank you very much, Paul.